Hello, I'm Pamela Davis. Welcome to episode 215 of the Well Done Life podcast. And hello, welcome back to episode 215 of the Well Done Life podcast. I'm your host, Pamela Davis. If you are new here, hey, how are you? Welcome. I am so glad to have you this week. I hope that you will stay for a very long time and bring lots of friends. If you've been here before, you guys know the deal. I love you deep. Thank you so much for continuing to support me on the journey. I wouldn't be here without you, and I'm so grateful that you stuck around and that you brought a lot of friends along with you too. Before we get started with this week's episode, it's really important to me to always kick off the podcast with a few foundational things. You know, we're building a safe space here, and I like to make sure that we build this safe space like we're doing a house. And so I want to make sure that our foundation is built on two really important things, and that is clarity and love. Clarity is really straightforward. I just want to make sure that you understand that I created the Well Done Life brand because I believe in the power of women. I believe in the power of us coming together, sharing our stories authentically to help inspire each other. I really feel like we need more spaces, believe it or not, where we can be safe, where we can really talk to each other on a real level. And so I hope that by me sharing the good and the bad of my journey, that I inspire you, as well as also sharing the journeys of other amazing women who are doing great things in the community, because it's important that you guys see yourselves and us. We are all interconnected, no matter how we all try to act like we aren't. And a lot of the things that we face are things that when we share, we allow someone not to have to go through the same experiences that we've gone through, or that we give each other strength in the times to show that with hard work, with faith, with determination, with a plan, you can overcome anything. And that as women, we don't have to gatekeep each other. We can really be supportive of each other in all things because there's enough room out here for all of us to win, and we can live beautiful lives while doing it. So that is why I do this. So welcome. And I hope that, again, like I said, you stay for a really, really long time and bring friends. Are you seeing a theme here? Like bring friends. There's always people welcome here at the party. And then that leads me into my other foundational thing, which is really one of the most important things to me, and that's love. Everything that we do in this podcast, in this space, in this brand is based on love. And so I really feel like for me, it's very important that every week I share prayers with you, because I truly do believe in the power of two or more of us praying being a magnification point. And so I like to make sure that I always send prayers out to you this week or every week that we talk. And so this week, I'm definitely standing on peace. Y'all know it has been a time. It's a time out there. It's a time for us all. And so we have to just continuously stand on peace. And this week, I want you to stand on peace and spontaneity. I know that probably sounds crazy, but it really just fell into my spirit. I want you to stand on peace and spontaneity. I want you to give yourself grace to do something just spontaneously that grants you peace. You know, I had a chance this week to go out and hang out with a really good friend of mine that I hadn't been in contact with, or like not in contact, because we send each other mad voice notes all the time because that's how we communicate and it just works for us. But like we just hadn't gotten in together. Like we realized when we saw each other, and y'all, I don't even know why I'm acting like y'all don't even know my friend. It's my friend Tita. We hadn't seen each other in person. We realized last night when we met up since November of 2024, which is insane. And but we talk all the time. These voice notes, like I said, we like send like mini podcasts to each other. But literally she challenged me and she was like, why don't we just go? And I am normally not the person that you can spontaneously do things with. Like I just can't, because with my schedule and stuff and with my family obligations, sometimes I put a lot of pressure on myself to just try to schedule everything out. Like everything has to be planned. And she was like, let's just do it. And I made it happen. And the world didn't stop. Everybody was cool and fed. And I had an amazing time and we got a chance to see each other. So, and it was such a great time of peace. And so that's what I really am trying to say. The long way, I guess, is I want you to plan spontaneous moments of peace. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go out with your friends. Like if you have a friend that you haven't seen in a while and y'all have been communicating in voice notes, I would definitely say, it might be time to take it off of the voice note into the personal note, and you could spontaneously plan a moment together. But what if it's not even just for that? What if it's just like, look, you need to drive around a corner to sit in your car and drink your juice or water or coffee or whatever, because I don't judge, in peace. If that's what's going to give you some peace in that moment and just help you recalibrate your energy and center, then you need to go do that. Like we have to stop being so regimented with peace. Sometimes peace has to be spur of the moment, and we have to give ourselves permission to understand that the world will not stop if we don't have our hand in everything, because you need a moment. You need a break. Always remember, you have to give yourself the peace that you are looking for in other things and other people. And so I really do. I really just hope that you have spontaneous moments of peace that bring you joy. And along that line, yes, of course, I'm always going to wish for you to have joy. I want you to find joy this week. I do. I want you to prioritize what that looks like. It could be sitting up, having a beautiful conversation and an amazing cupcake. It could. That's a whole nother story. It also could be just taking a walk in nature. I mean, right now, like here in Orlando, the weather has been really good. Like today, I'm recording on Saturday, March the 22nd at 2:40 p.m. It is gorgeous outside. Like I just really loved being in the sun earlier when I was out running errands and feeling the breeze. It was cold earlier, but it's now a beautiful, like balmy weather. I want you to prioritize like little moments of joy. It just felt good to let the sun sit on my face. Like what feels good to you right now? And it could be the smallest thing. It could be the grandest thing, but it's just something that brings you joy, because no matter what's going on in life, you still have to find joy. Still find the joy. Because the moment that you stop finding the joy is when you allow life to start to grind you down. And you have to be cautious of that, because your spirit, your soul, your heart set can only take so much. So be gentle with you. Find joy, find peace where you can. And then also, I am just praying this week that you are surrounded in laughter. I don't know, it's just been a season of heaviness. And I'm realizing that, many of us are going through things, not just from the world view, but I'm talking about like real life issues, like financial issues, family issues, physical issues. We have to be able to appreciate moments of laughter in the midst of all of that, because it's like when you laugh, you release endorphins, and those endorphins not only lift yourself spiritually, but it can also be a part of your healing from no matter what the weight is that you are carrying. So when you are able to have a moment of laughter, enjoy it. Don't feel guilty about it, because sometimes, we feel guilty, especially in moments of sadness. Like, why am I laughing? I have absolutely nothing to be happy about. But sometimes you have to understand that there are gifts of happiness, pockets of happiness that are given to you, and you have to value those. Because to me, I always view those as a sign from God that, hey, I'm going to bring you through. And I never want you to forget the joy that you should have in times of stress. I never want you to forget that I will give you life and laughter again. So I try to embrace those moments. I hope you will embrace them as well, because they'll help get you through some of the darkest times that you may face. And I know that, like I said, sometimes it can get heavy out here in these streets. It can get real heavy. Don't forget to smile when you can. Don't forget to enjoy moments and fits of laughter when you can. And try to maybe prioritize ways for you to have that infusion points. It could be through television shows, books, family, friends, music, just whatever gives you a boost. Prioritize that boost, because you deserve it at all points in time. Laughter, joy, peace, they are sustaining and healing. And no matter what's going on, we still have to live. So keep living, but surrounded in joy. And then rounding out my prayers, of course, I'm always going to want to give you abundance. I'm praying this week that you are surrounded in abundance. I want you to be abundant in love. I want you to be surrounded in abundance, financially, spiritually, emotionally, physically. I want you to feel your best. I am praying that anything that is troubling you in your spirit, in your mind, in your body, that it is removed, that you are completely restored and redeemed. I want you to be abundant on all levels because you do deserve it all. And don't ever forget that. And always go for what you deserve with the understanding that it's not just about the money, because I'm not just talking about it from that standpoint, but just live a beautiful, abundant life. Abundance is so many things. Learn how to value all of it in its entirety because it will bring you so much effortless joy. So those are my prayers for you this week. And like I said, I'm recording on Saturday and it feels really good. This isn't like my normal recording time. I'm committing to this. And so I want to thank everyone before we get into this week's episode. I want to thank everyone for their support of last week's episode in reference to finding the softness. I feel like I'm trying to rediscover softness in the midst of chaos and crazy, and I'm really enjoying it. And I hope that you guys are creating softness. There's just been, I can mention, so much commentary in reference to how Megan Sussex was doing her show. And I really enjoy her show. Like I've said before, it just gives me a beautiful pocket of peace. It's so aspirational. And so I feel like everybody should take from that, find to create opportunities to create the joy for yourself, no matter what it looks like. It's not about how much it costs. It's about what it does for you. And it's about how you can recreate moments of beauty and love and joy for the people that you love. No one can be mad at something like that. And I hope that you're not. But today I'm back and, I'm here with another episode, something a little bit differently, but not maybe too different. I talked to you guys a few weeks back in reference to, like real life, how, I've kind of gotten a little bit further back into my caregiving journey now. Things have been changing with my mom, and my mom is doing good. Like physically, she's doing good. We took her to the doctor. The doctor gave her a good bill of health, and we're going to work on some things to help make her stronger. And hopefully that will give us a little bit more of balance in our home. But right now, it is a little chaotic. And then at the same time, I also have some family members who are going through illness, and it is very stressful right now because, of course, you always hate to see the ones that you love sick and, going through. And so I wanted to kind of pose something to you that was posed to me. My friend Tita, of course, it's always, sometimes our friends who bring things to our attention. She sent me a voice note, actually, and she was like, I want you to know that I am the friend that you don't have to take care of. And when she said that, of course, I was blown. I had to repeat that portion of the voice note a few times. She probably doesn't even know that because I don't think I told her that. But yeah, I'm the friend that you don't have to take care of. And she was like, the reason I'm saying that is because obviously, as she knows my situation as being a caregiver. And when she and I talk, I don't know if it's just the age of us or what, but we talk about our physical ailments, things that we're going through. I tell her about our hormone treatment. She talks to me about it as well, because we're, perimenopausal, all these things. And so we're having all these conversations because that's what you do. You share the secrets, you share the deeds, you can't help it. I don't want to gatekeep. I don't gatekeep my health journey because I want everybody to live their best life. So we talk about it all the time. And I'm just going to be honest. I am like a medical nerd. I really am. When I was in college, fun fact, I actually started college as biology pre-med. I used to want to be a doctor for quite some time, actually an OBGYN to be exact. And I made a different course because I was not good in calculus. And I was like, and I can't fudge my way through calculus. And I just kind of got frustrated. So I leaned back into my second passion, which was pre-law. And that's where I wound up getting a degree in political science. But okay, that's enough down memory lane. But long story short, short story long, it leads my mind to really, like, I am like the medical researcher. Like, I love finding out information as it relates to our body and different things and sharing. And so when I talk to people, especially her, especially people that I love, I talk a lot about, well, have you done this? Have you tried this? Have you read this? Check this out. Like, I will send you Google articles. I will share medical tips. I will share doctor information. I will share supplements that I'm taking. I will give you the full tea because, again, I want everybody to live their best life. And so it does come across from my nurturing side. And she was like, you're a natural nurturer as well as a medical nerd and like a little thesaurus. And, you're trying to take care of everybody. And I just want you to know you don't have to take care of me. And so that led me into therapy, talking about it with my therapist and her agreeing that I do have this feeling sometimes or this desire to take care of people because of my nature as a caregiver. And so I wanted to pose the question to you guys. Why do we feel or sometimes feel responsible for taking care of our friends? And then what happens, one, when it's identified that this is who you are? And what happens when you stop? Or do you stop? And so I want to kind of talk about that today because I have to admit, I think in this season of my life, as I sit here in my 52nd year of life, I have to admit I don't necessarily want to have that be my veil. Like, I don't think that's the name tag I want to be, like Pamela, the caretaker of all people. And I don't necessarily think it's that way, but sometimes I have to check myself because I easily slip into caregiver mode really fast. And I think that's just, again, because of how I'm living every day. I'm a caregiver, so I can't help it. But I wanted to talk about it too, because it's a lot of weight if we think about falling into that role as caregivers. And then at the same time, for those of us that are falling into those roles, where does that come from? Why are we doing that? What is the cost of doing that? And what's the importance of actually having balanced friendships? Because let's be real in the streets. I mean, we can't always, the caretakers, be the ones carrying the load. And are we secretly feeling like, wow, I'm putting in all these efforts in these friendships, and what do we do about it? And how do we stop doing that? And, so let's kind of dive in. Let's talk about it because it's a lot. I mean, isn't it? It just, I don't know about you. Maybe you're thinking about it, but that's how I felt when it was posed to me. I literally sat back and thought about it. About why do we fall into it? And like I said, I went to therapy because that was something on the calendar. And it's just funny how God's timing works, that those things have to come up. And in therapy, and even as I've started to reflect on how I wanted to talk about it here with you guys, I had to think about, how I was raised. I think back to when I was young, I wasn't raised to be a caregiver. I really wasn't. Not saying that my parents raised us to be like selfish kids. That wasn't it. Like, we took care of each other. That was how we navigated. But it wasn't like I had to take more of a lead role in taking care of anybody. That wasn't my dynamic. But I do know that there are some people, especially like older children, who naturally have to sometimes fall into the caregiver role just based upon the needs and demands of their family and just the structure. But I'll be honest, for me, that just wasn't how it was. Luckily, I lived in a pretty balanced household. Like, my mom and dad were the ones who were shouldering a lot of the responsibility for caring for us. So for me, it wasn't something that was raised in me as a psychological or emotional need. But for some people, it is. Now, the other side of it, though, is that wasn't my story. But I will say that I think a lot of my need to care for people, a lot of my need to love on people comes from my people pleasing side, which has been in effect since I was young. Like, I think I could literally record probably the earliest opportunity of me being that person when I was in the second grade. I just felt awkward in the second grade. I didn't feel like, I actually was bored too. And just, I was in my school and kids were picking on me. And I just felt like I didn't fit in. So I just wanted people to like me. And people used to pick on me based upon the way that I talked, because they were like, you talk so proper. You talk, they used to say, oh, you talk like a white girl. And so kids would throw food at me when I would wait for my dad to come and pick us up. pick me up from school. And so I just was trying to figure out how to get through, and I didn't really know how. And I was really short. I was like super little. I mean, I'm only like 5 feet tall now. So if that kind of tells you, and I didn't know how to defend myself. And so from that point, I was just always trying to get people to like me and not pick on me and not treat me bad. And I think I carried that for a long time through my journey. But I don't think, obviously, that that's the case for all of us. But I think for some of us it is. It's that it comes from that root of trying to make sure people liked us. It comes from the root of not wanting people to leave us or abandon us. Like, let me do everything so that you don't have to carry any of the weight, because I just want you to like me. I want you to love me. And I think a lot of times, as young kids, based upon our experiences, some of us have been in situations where we've had to feel like I've got to carry the weight of it all so that you love me, so that you'll see value in me. Or like I said, in my instance, it was just, I just don't want you to pick on me. I want you to think I'm cool and nice. So yeah, I became that kid. And if I think about it, that even led me into when I was in the 3rd grade, where I used to steal money out of my mom's purse and buy kids candy at school because I wanted them to like me. Yes, we're not going to really go into the full detail of that story, but let's just say when I was young, I was a different type of child. I was a little mischievous. I was a little special. And don't even trip. Yes, I totally got busted. My mother figured it out, and I got in a lot of trouble, but I had a lot of self-esteem issues back then. And again, I think looking back now, I can clearly see where a lot of those roots took place, because I felt different. I felt out of place, and I was trying to figure out how to put my place in. And I felt like the only way that I could get my place in was if I either bought it and made people like me, or learn how to dull it down so I could fly under the radar enough where people wouldn't put expectations on me that weren't there and then pick on me. So essentially, it was just a way for me to navigate. And that was how I got through. That was just how I got through. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't a good feeling. And I think about that for a lot of us, for all those years, all those things that we went through, all of the secrets that we had, that we carried. How has that made us feel as we've gotten older, as we've gone through life? And for me, I'm going to be honest, looking at how I feel now, especially being a caretaker and having gone through those seasons of my life where I was trying to make people like me and just be everything to everybody, it came to a point where I was exhausted. I was exhausted emotionally and spiritually. Like, I just felt like this was just too much work. And I did wind up finding myself, especially as I got older, I wound up finding myself in friendships that were not reciprocal. And I think about it, I probably just didn't even understand truly what reciprocity was back then. That was a foreign word. I like to say it a lot now, but it took me a minute to figure that out. Back then, I didn't understand what reciprocity was. All I knew is that I was focused on people liking me. And I don't know how many of you went through those seasons as well, because let's just be honest, growing up was not easy. Being a kid is not. And being different in certain ways, or having people at least make you feel different, it can put a lot of pressure on you. And it can put you in situations where, like I said, you're trying to like people and care for people who you don't really like. You just want them to like you for some reason because you don't like yourself. And so you wind up in, like I said, these unreciprocal relationships. It's so much effort, so much work. And I think about it, how much damage I was doing to my self-worth during that time. And you have to think about that. Like, how much damage did we do back in the days? And if you're still doing it now by carrying on and like pretending to really be everything to everybody, what are you doing to yourself, to your self-worth? And how does it feel? Because I know for me, it feels heavy sometimes. It has felt heavy. Like, it is just, like I said, such a weight. And it led me to so many bad decisions back then in regards to friends. in regards to relationships, because again, it carries over not just into the friendships, it carries over into relationships. Because let's be honest, there's a lot of us who have been in relationships with people, men and women, where we have tried to make things work with people don't have your best interest at heart, but you just want them so bad that you are willing to allow yourself to just continue to be diminished because you are more preoccupied with this person loving on you and you caring for them versus them caring for you. And that level of relationship, that level of non-reciprocal relationships, all it does is stunt our ability even further to get the support and love we need because we don't know how to ask for it. We don't even know what it looks like at that point. Because back in the day, I think about it, I read so many self-help books. I tried so many things to try to figure out what was the problem instead of really realizing I was the problem. And don't get me wrong, like reading those self-help books, I thought I was a problem, but I didn't really realize I was truly the problem because I wasn't at that point ready to confront the fact that my desire to be everything to everybody, to always be the strong friend, the caring friend, the loving friend, had stunted my growth so much that I wouldn't know a good relationship from a friendship standpoint to a relational standpoint if it just came up to me, slapped me in the face and said, hey girl, this is a friend or a good relationship. I wouldn't have known it because I was just lost. And so I wasn't found until I started taking a look at myself, until I got real and recognizing that, how this is going is not how I can keep going. I can't always be the strong friend. I can't be the caregiver. And unfortunately, a lot of the times we don't have those type of revelations until rubber meets the road. Until it just you come to a breaking point where you're like, I don't have anything else. And what else can I give and it be deemed not enough? And then you have that moment where it gets really real. And the moment where you recognize wow, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I don't have it in me to give. And to me, a lot of times we find those moments when you really finally find the person who's balanced in your life. When you really find the friend who says to me or says to you, you don't need to take care of me. Let me take care of you. Or you find the partner that says to you, let me be there for you. I see the load that you're carrying. You don't have to carry it alone. And then that leads into this whole moment of really realizing wow, I've really always been trying to do it all. I've never let somebody love me. I've never let somebody care about me. And maybe that's just me coming to those realizations, but I'm going to ask you, how many moments have you had where you've had that person who's trying to love on you and come to you and say, you know what, let me love you. Let me be good to you. You don't have to be everything to me. I'm okay by me. I just want to be good to you. And recognize I've been needing this my entire life. And my own fears and insecurities have been blocking me from getting what I deserve. And that's a real situation. That's a real moment. And it is really hard. And it is something that definitely everyone, I think, will go through because it's hard to recognize that a lot of times we're not in balanced friendships. We're not in balanced relationships. And, it is so important to have them because having mutually supportive relationships allows growth for you and that other person. And for you, it also allows you to be in a space, especially when you haven't been in one, that is safe and supportive, where you can let your guard down, where you can recognize that it's okay and necessary to let other people live their lives the way that they want to live them, just like they are going to let you live your life the way that you want to live it. Doesn't it feel so good when you recognize that you are in a space where you are not judged? Doesn't it? when you know that what you are doing is probably not the way that your friend would do it, but instead of your friend shaming you about what you're doing, they're like, okay, it may not be what I want you, how I would do it, but I wish you nothing but the best. And if you need me, I've got your back and I will be here for you. And take that and then apply it to your romantic relationships. Imagine having that. The space to grow, to be, to feel, and just live. And knowing that you are going to support each other. Isn't that feel good? Doesn't that feel nice when you finally give yourself permission not to manage somebody else's expectations or emotions? When we stop trying to be the boss of it all and just start being the boss of ourselves. That's when it really gets good. That's when it gets powerful. That's when we recognize we don't have to always be the one in charge. We don't have to always be the caring, strong friend. Our friends are equipped to be able to handle themselves the way that they can and should be. And we give each other grace because, hey, we all do things differently. We all make mistakes, but I still love you. I still support you. I still need you. And I'm never going to judge you for it. And I know, you're probably like, well, I don't have friends like that. Or maybe I do have friends like that, but I'm not spending enough time with them. I think a lot of times it's recognizing that maybe we're at a point in our lives where we need to shift, where we need to make adjustments. And, that's always the hard part. I always hear people talking about on social media, I'm cutting them off. If you made the list, if you've seen this, you're the one I want, whatever, all of that fake pruning. It takes real self-awareness to recognize that you are allowing yourself to be in a position where you are constantly trying to take care of everybody. And then I'm going to be honest, it takes even stronger awareness to recognize that you are allowing yourself to be in friendship with someone who is taking advantage of you. It is. And that self-awareness gets real deep when you have to get real honest and admit that, this doesn't align with who you're becoming or who you are in the moment. And choosing sometimes between yourself and other people, the friendship, being able to be uncomfortable enough to say, I can't do this anymore because carrying you and carrying me is way too heavy. And I need to prioritize me, choosing me. I got to put me first. And being okay with that. That's real self-awareness. And it's hard. And it's easy to talk about what you will do versus actually doing it. And sometimes that's where I feel like life starts to intervene, starts to prune people away. I do. I feel like God just naturally will come in sometimes because the Lord is like, look, I know that this is too heavy of a burden for you. And God will just start moving people out of our lives. The tricky part of it is, though, sometimes because we are so caught up in self, we are so focused on what we want that we move these people back in our lives, even though their butts needs to be outside the life. Now that really, that's real, because let's all kind of ask ourselves in this moment another question. How many times have we been in situations where God, being the gracious God that He is, moves people out of our lives? He creates distance around certain people. But you know what? Being exactly who we are, being the humans that we are, the fallible creatures that we are, we're like, you know what? Let me pick this person back up. And a lot of times we're picking that person up because we have some unfulfilled thought that we need to communicate with this person. We have some desire to believe that this person has changed, even though we know doggone well this person hasn't changed. This is the exact same person who they are, because people don't change unless they want to truly make change, and they show you through their actions and their words consistently that they have made the change before we make decisions about that. But a lot of times we don't. We just act with emotion, we act with feeling, and we pull people back into our lives. How many times have we been in those spots? Now, I know I'm not the only one who's just raising their hand, because I've been there, and I have sustained friendships a lot longer than what they needed to, because I just wasn't willing to let them go. Like, I thought I knew better than God, and I was wrong every time. And naturally, there comes a point in time where God truly allowed me to break the chain. But that's sometimes a lot of times where we don't shift away from the people that we always have to take care of. that we feel like we always have to take care of, because you don't have to. It's like learning how to say that I care about you, I love you, but I can't fix this for you. You know? And it's hard because some people can accept that. And then some people, those ones who are, like I said, not necessarily who you should have on your life in this phase of the journey. They want to argue with you. They want to talk about you change. They want to talk about all of these feelings that they're feeling, but they're not talking about how you're feeling. And you are sitting here being rational and explaining that I can't fix you because I'm trying to fix me. And if you love me as a friend, you should understand that, because I have to admit, I feel blessed to be in a season of my life now, finally, in my 52nd year of life, where I finally have friends in my life that I feel like I don't have to take care of. I do. I finally have that. And I'm so grateful. I don't have to be everything for them. And they don't need to be everything for me. And we give each other space to be who we are respectfully. And we are all extremely different, but the respect and the love and the understanding that we will survive and thrive helps us not have to just cling to each other. We're all very self-contained, but when we need to come together like a fighting unit, we ride at dawn for each other. And that's just how it has to be. I want you to have that. And I feel blessed that I was able to get to a point in my life where I was willing to choose the friends like that and stop choosing the parasitic relationships and have my boundaries to the hilt to protect my energy, to avoid it. And that takes a lot. Like I said, it takes a lot of self-awareness. I'm not going to act like I have it all together. Let me just tell you in advance, I do not. And I constantly, that's one of the things I talk about in therapy, because remember, I talk about for my therapy, any limits that I place on myself, any blocks that I place on myself. So I question a lot of times the connections sometimes that I have with people. And I get very clear about it, because I know that I can easily fall back into my old habits of caring for people and trying to be super saver at hoe and be everything, because I'm still healing from my past insecurities of where I was afraid that people wouldn't like me. Now I just don't care. And I don't want you to have to wait until you get 52 to figure out that you don't care. But, there comes a season in our lives where, you have to recognize that you are willing to be uncomfortable for a moment and peaceful for a lifetime. That you really see the trueness of being around people who allow you just to be, who allow you to make mistakes and still love you, who support you and help you and lift you up when you ask, but don't try to do it all for you, and don't require that of you, because that is too exhausting and you deserve better. Value those relationships, pour into those relationships, because those are reciprocal, loving, and supportive relationships. They're not symbiotic. They're not parasitic. A lot of times when you are in a situation where you constantly have to be everything to everyone, when you have to be someone's emotional crutch and caregiver, it is a parasitic relationship. And you want to be careful of that, because no offense, especially at this level of life that we are doing, many of us are caring for other people. We have families and other obligations. Some of y'all are parents. You don't have time to be trying to take care of the world when you are taking care of a family, of a village, of a community. You don't have time. So you need to make sure that the people in your tribe, the people in your group, your clique, your closest friends are thorough. Meaning you need to make sure that everybody can stand on their own and be supportive and loving, because you have to pull and push with each other. It's the push and pull of it. And especially when you get in relationships, I think about that. I always say to my love, we have the push and pull. There's going to be days where you got it more than I do. There are going to be days when I have it more than you do. And we have to push and pull to make this thing work together. Focus on the push and pull. You don't need to allow yourself to be everything to everyone. And don't put that pressure on someone else as well. Do the work on yourself so that you can be the best version of who you were called to be. And so you can be in situations where, again, you are not being everything to everyone. You don't have to be the caretaker of the group. You don't have to be the strongest soldier in God's army. You don't. It's okay. Let him share the wealth with other people. It's all right. Give yourself that grace so that you can be that person. And so as we're kind of closing it out, I'm going to ask you a few things that I've asked myself countless times. Are there friendships in your life where you feel like more of a caregiver than an equal? What would happen if you step back? Yeah, what would happen? Think about it. Think about if you step back. How would they feel? How would you feel? That's really the most important thing. How would you feel? Would the world end? Would people figure it out? Would you feel a weight lifted off of you? I mean, you have to ask yourself those things because, like I said, at this level of life that we're all trying to do, you don't have time to carry anyone. You don't. Especially not someone who is not pouring back into you. And again, vice versa, you have to be that person to pour back in because community is important. Our clique, our group of people, that small circle, those tight circles that we're building, they are important. And you have to make sure that you're doing your part just like they're doing their part. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean that maybe you have to talk every day. Some days you will, some days you won't. But when it comes down to it, make sure that it is a friendship that is rooted in mutual respect, value, care, and love. And that those are not just feelings, but those are actions. You don't have to be in relationships with people where you're caring for everyone. You don't. And you should not be the one that everyone is having to take care of. Don't be afraid of therapy. If you need therapy, get therapy. If you need help, be open to it and don't push it away. It's not an indictment to get therapy. Like I'm very pro therapy, as you all know. Therapy gives me peace. It helps me navigate this world of caregiving because, like I said, between doing it for my family and myself, because again, you're in a caregiving relationship with yourself. You're trying to give care to you. You just come to a point where you recognize you can't care for everybody. And that's okay. And when I say care for everybody, again, I want to make sure I'm clear, meaning that you don't have to be the strongest soldier in the friend group. You don't have to be the one that's constantly breaking your neck to try to make everybody happy. Because if you are doing that, all you are going to do is run yourself ragged to a point where you are going to break down. And I don't want that for you because it's exhausting. Examine the roots of where these feelings of needing to care are coming from. I guarantee there is some traumatic event or some part of your childhood that maybe you need to deal with. And it's okay to deal with yourself because you deserve to be light. You deserve to be loved. You deserve to be supported and encouraged on all levels. Give yourself the space and room to thrive, to heal, to not have to be the strongest soldier in the army. And understand that you deserve love and grace just like everyone else. And that you will find the group of people who can give that to you when you do the work on yourself to heal those areas. It attracts it. It naturally does. And then you'll be surprised. You probably will recognize that some of your friends are going through some of those changes as well. And just maybe, like I said, just try it. Pull back. Give yourself the space to see before you jump to the conclusion that you don't need to. Try. Because we all have been in those situations and there's nothing to be judgmental about. It's just a time to heal, it's a time to thrive, and a time to do the work. So let's do the work together. So I hope that you guys will share your stories with me on the journey. I hope that this resonated with you because, like I said, it's okay. We've been there. I've been there. We're all taking care of so many. Let's give ourselves space so that we don't have to take care of each other in a way where it makes us lost and hurt and diminished in the process. let's love each other back to life in the easiest and most healthiest way possible. So I hope that you will share your journeys and stories with me. All of my social media information will be in the show notes, but you can always reach me on Instagram at The Well Done Life. You can also reach me on my personal page at Pamela L. Davis. Don't send me a DM. I probably won't check it. I cannot even lie. I won't. But if you want to email me at hello@thewelldonelife.com or at thewelldonelife@gmail.com. And I would definitely respond to you. And I look forward to talking to you. I look forward to healing with you. We are caring for so many people. It's time for us to prioritize caring for ourselves and give ourselves the grace and the love to understand that we deserve it. So I definitely will be back next week with another episode. I can't wait to hear your feedback about this one. Please like, share, subscribe. And I hope that you are having an amazing Sunday and that you are taking care of yourself and taking care of each other. And I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.